So today we're going to talk about some of the applications we've built over the past 15 years or so for what was originally, a lot of it started with the LAUA security model for you people that have been on the Lawson or Infor products for a long time. And that we migrated that into primarily dealing with the S3 security model, so under LDAP, and built a bunch of tools around that for the S3 applications. We then, as CloudSuite came out, we had a lot of customers coming to us that were running our S3 applications, said, we need these same tools on CloudSuite. So those have all been developed, they're implemented. We have customers, a lot, if not most all of our customers, run a combination of S3 and CloudSuite. So as they're transitioning over, they might have started up with GHR and process flow, and they're moving in talent management, and now they're moving financials over. So we have a number of clients that are running both sets of tools in their environment. What we're trying to do is consolidate a lot of information, give you easy access to that. So I'll go through a little bit of our objective and kind of what we're doing. If you're not familiar with Kinsey, so I won't read all these slides, but we've been around quite a few years now, and we've been a Lawson partner for a long 27 years. So we do the implementations. We do all, kind of ground up implementation on all the consulting side for the applications. And our consultants were heavily involved in the development, especially our security and technical consultants, on these tools. So we have, you'll see when I get to security reporting, when we get to segregation of duties, we brought in our technical people, we brought in our functional people to develop the policies and the rules around our SOD reporting. And then we listen to auditors and our clients on what kind of information do they need to get out of the system. So we now, we've done, we've 140, 150 Infor accounts. We have well over 100 implementations of this product. And not everybody takes every component we have, so it's really all a la carte, which is nice. So everything works in conjunction and seamlessly together, but all the products also work independently for those clients that just may want 2 or 3 of the components. So our objective is pretty simple, right? Really a couple things we're trying to do. We're trying to give you real simple access to the information that's in your system and really give you more information. So that could be security data or it could be transactional information. So when it comes to the auditing, we're looking at all the activity running through the system. We're looking at what changes people are made. And again, I'm talking everything between S3 and CloudSuite now. And then we also want to make sure that a lot of times it runs through IT, so that's really kind of the owner of our product generally, is because they'll get requests from auditors on certain, level of access people had, or who's accessing some information, or who made a change to a specific record. That type of data we want to be able to give you, and we want to give it in a centralized location, just through our dashboard. And then also, it's pretty critical in maintaining security. So, how did somebody get to a specific business class, or how do they get to a form in S3, right? What level of permission do they have? So when you're doing audit reviews, we want to make sure they have their reports, but when you're the person maintaining security, we want to make sure it's easier for you to report on and maintain that. So that's really what we're trying to do. So what we deliver on our dashboard, and this is between, again, the 2 applications, are going to be 78 standard. It's split pretty evenly between S3 and Landmark. Security reports, so that's everything from a user or an actor report, what level of access they have, all the way down to the object level, so it could be a token or it could be a business class, and what that security access is set to. But it's all your role definitions, it's all your security class definitions. It's really everything within the model: attributes, identities, organizational units, depending on S3 or Landmark. So we have a lot of standard reports that we're pulling out of the system, and then you can build all your own filters that I'll show you when I demo the product. So I'm only going to do about 10 minutes of this PowerPoint, and then we're actually going to get into product. And segregation of duties, so we deliver these. We deliver a tool that allows you to build your own, but we've actually populated that tool with 389 policies that are pre-built using thousands of rules. So on the S3 side, we're checking everything. It's going to land on both. On S3, we're checking it at the object level of token. So I'm looking to say, if somebody can do vendor maintenance and they can also enter an invoice, that's going to be a violation of the policy for us. On the landmark side, we're looking at what security classes have the ability to do those two. How do you do vendor maintenance in landmark? How do you do invoice entry in landmark? What security classes do you have to have access to? And we check to see if people have access to both of those. So these are already developed and ready to run as soon as the product is implemented. So you can check your security model, see where you might have potential violations that need to be investigated. We then track user activity within the application. So every token or form or business class that a user accesses in your application and how they access it, we're able to capture. We know the user, we know the date and the time, we know what the form is or what the business class is, and we know what the key to that record is and the action they took. Are they just doing views? Are they doing updates? Within the landmark side, you're going to get the actual, not just an update, you're going to get the action on the business class, and a lot of business classes have different actions you can take. We're capturing the actual action. And on the S3 side, it's every function code that got initiated. And then we know what record. So if somebody goes in and does a view of an employee record, I'll tell you what company, what employee record it was. So we're doing that without you really having to do anything. We're just capturing, with the exception of self-service on the S3 side, we're capturing every transaction that's running through your application. So you can just go back and run reports. When auditors want to know when was the last time somebody was logged into the system, we know the last piece of activity. If you want to know who's making journal entry changes, we've captured who's in to GL 40.1 making journal entry changes. That's the type of data. Now, going deeper on that, we have transaction auditing, which is really the data behind every one of those business classes or forms that somebody took an action on. So if you just are trying to follow where people are, what they're doing, how many transactions, and who's doing updates, that's what Activity Monitor do. If you want to know the before and after values of any field level change in the system, we'll track that through transaction auditing and report back on that for you. So most of our customers that run this application, they don't try to track all 7,000 forms that are in the S3 application. They might have 50 critical forms that they want to audit, or tokens that they want to audit in the application, or they have specific people that they want to audit. So maybe they want to audit, IT staff has all access to everything for support purposes, so they want to track everything on a list of named users just to make sure they're not doing changes to the data and they're only maybe doing inquiries to that information. So a couple ways of setting that up. And then on the security side, we want to make sure we're tracking changes to security. So we're giving you an unlimited way to query that data and find out if we have a change to the security, who made that change, when was it done, and again, what's the before and after values on what might have been changed in the security model. So those are delivered when the application is installed. So from an audit perspective on simplifying the reporting, these are the kind of requests we've gotten over the years that our customers say their auditors want. Well, everybody wants the access report. What level of access does somebody have? Now that may just be a user role report, or it may be all the way down to a more detailed object like a token or a business class and what their permissions are. So we have that for both applications. But then we get into some other things like active and inactive users. So they want to know who your disabled users are. We just, Ardent Health yesterday said we need a list of all of our disabled users in the application. Well, those are standard queries for us and reports that we deliver. They want to know, again, the last time somebody was logged into the system and what did they do when they were in. And you can see the types of things here. We're delivering these reports so that auditors, when you get that request, you can build your own filters on this, but these are the types of things that they're always asking for. Is they want to know who's accessing information, what did they change, and then simple things like SOD reports or last active reports and that kind of thing. From a maintaining security, so for the IT staff, there's a ton of reports. So it's what you'd expect, right? It's how are my roles defined? How are my security classes defined? What's my LPL look like? Identities, agents, org units, anything on the S3 side, anything on the landmark side. And then we do some other things with how we get some metadata behind it, how we do relationship, some system data on business class relationships, some reports on federation services. So I'll show you the dashboard, but there's for anybody maintaining security, we just want to give them all this types of information with some additional things they're not getting out of the standard functionality within our reporting tool. So our solutions on S3, you see a list here. So and I'll go through each of these a little bit, but you see there's a number of different applications. Again, for the most part, all a la carte. So again, we have a lot of people running reporting, auditing, SOD, and activity monitoring, and not doing modeling or not doing TA, and they add those on as things as they kind of evolve within the application. Then on the CloudSuite, this is a similar set of functionality. We don't do the modeling yet and I'll show you a little bit about that on the CloudSuite app. And we're not doing SOD remediation, but we will be. So for right now, these are the applications available. So let me just show you a little bit about, talk just briefly about each one of these does. So the dashboard's on the right, S3 on top, CloudSuite on the bottom, and that's just it. We're going to have, how's my security defined at an actor level or user level and a role level, security class level, and then some other metadata behind that we give you access to that we've harvested out of the system that we use on our reports. So we give IT access to, for instance, what are the keys to a business class, or what are all the function codes on a specific form, that type of data we have. So then on SOD, we have these 300 plus policies delivered, thousands of rules, and we can allow you to rate them on level of importance. So they go from a 1 to 5-star rating. The different colors indicate where I might have violations. And then we have all reports about who's violating it, why are they violating it, what's their level of permission, and then what do I do about that? Then we also have this remediation product, which is on the lower right grid, where we can look at since we know what people are doing if you have activity monitor, and we know what the SOD policies are, and we know what their security policies are. If we put that all together, I can show you where the areas of focus you might, if you're looking at segregation duties. So on the chart on the lower right, a green box would indicate that the person violates the rule, but they're not using or not doing any activity that would cause concern. So, we're looking at somebody who's making add, change, and delete functionality, not inquiries. So if somebody's in and just looking at vendors, they have access to AP 10.1, going to S3, and they have access to AP 20.1, invoice entry. They might have all access, but all they're doing are inquiries. That's okay with us. They'll get a green box. They're in violation of the policy, but they're not doing anything we're concerned about. If they have a yellow, then they're still probably okay. They have the access they shouldn't have, but maybe they're viewing vendors and entering invoices. So yellows indicate a little more level of severity, but not overly concerning. And then a red's going to tell us, hey, they have access to AP 10.1, and they are entering new vendors, and they have access to invoice entry, and they are entering new invoices. That could be concerning. Generally, auditors don't like that. So we're trying to highlight for you, based on what people are actually doing in the application, whether or not there's a concern for that SOD violation, so you can kind of attack that problem sooner than later. And then you see there's actually one blue here. We allow mitigations. So if the auditors say, hey, we're signing off that it's okay for this person to do that, you can put a mitigation, put a reason behind it. And so when you have an audit and they want to know everybody's violating policies, they'll have an explanation of this person has been mitigated and approved by audit to process those transactions. So that's the SOD application will do all that for you. Then we get into security auditing. So again, we want to track any change made to the security model. That can impact SOD. So a lot of our clients have the SOD reports set up on email notifications. They have security audits set up on email notifications. Because if somebody were to go in and change vendor maintenance and all of a sudden allow somebody to have all access where they had inquiry only, that now could flag an SOD violation, so we need to let them know that this security change caused that SOD risk. And then for the S3 application, we do, I won't go too much into this today, but we do modeling. So this is the ability to build, kind of create a what-if scenario on your security model. So if I were to add this role to a user, how does that change their security? If I were to change the security class assignment to a role, that could impact a lot of people. So tell me everybody that's impacted in that and what their security now is going to be. So we can model out down to the object level, if you were to make a change to security before you actually make it, what's the impact going to be on my users? And that's what a lot of people want to know before they actually make the change. And then based on that simulated change, you can run our segregation and duty reports to find out, if I were to make that change, does that cause a violation in my security model? Because that's what we're trying to avoid. So that's what the modeling application of the S3 side would do. So that's everything we do on the security side of the equation, right? So I'm looking at all of the data, either for Landmark or I'm looking at it on an LDAP, and we're running security reports, checking against our policies, looking for changes. Then we go to the transaction side. So now this is what's actually flowing through the application. So the monitoring application, as I mentioned before, there's no rules you have to set up behind this. We're tracking everything that comes through add-ins, everything that comes through the portal users, on the Landmark side, on the S3 side. All that activity is tracked and picked up, and you can run really an unlimited number of types of reports behind that to see what people are doing in the application, who's making changes on certain forms, who's doing things on certain business classes, whatever that might be. So there's no rules there. We'll just pick it up, capture it, keep it in your database. For transaction auditing, this is where we're looking for really all the before and after values at a field level data. So you're going to pull out, those business classes that are most important for you to track, those the tokens that are maybe the most important, or the people that you really want to track. Build those into a rule that we'll have in our admin panel, and we'll allow you to report on all that activity. And you have your retention policies that you define also. So maybe you only want to keep the views or the inquiries for a year. Maybe you want to keep all changes and updates for 2 years, type thing. So I talked a little bit about implementation. I used to leave this to the end, and I kind of forgot about it. So I never got to it. So now I move it up here before I go into the demo. So we can do everything remote for you. We do all the training remote. We do the implementation remote. We'll ask you to set up a VM server, or you can have a regular server, but everybody does. I think 100% of our clients are on VMs. That can be cloud-based, wherever you want it to be. It can be on-prem. Your S3 can be on-prem. Your S3 can be in the cloud. Your CloudSuite's going to be in the cloud. We don't care where Infor lives. We have clients that have S3 on-prem and run CloudSuite. They have S3 on-prem. They have Landmark on-prem. We have clients that have S3 hosted and they have CloudSuite hosted. So that doesn't matter to us, nor does it matter to us where our server lives. Now, I think with the exception of 2 or 3 clients, everybody just puts our server on-prem. And then you only need one. You can point to both. We'll do 2 environments, like a test and a prod. Same thing for CloudSuite. And all on one server, you'll be able to report against those different environments across those different application platforms, and just keep that VM in-house. Right? So it takes us, depending on how many applications, 3 to 5 days. You literally will be, when we start training, when we're done on that 5 days, you'll be able to run reports, and within 2 to 3 hours of just going through training, you'll be able to run all these security reports really without any issue. We generally do, and I do a lot of the training. I'd say most clients probably take 8 to 10 hours of training over about 4 sessions, and a lot of that's just administrative stuff. How do I make things? How do I know when you're capturing the data? How do I change schedules? That kind of thing. How do I set up new users? But the applications themselves, with probably 3 2-hour sessions, you'll be able to run SOD reports, security reports, transaction audit reports, everything in the application. So you can see that we're not changing anything in your applications. We obviously can't do anything on the CloudSuite. We can't make any changes there. And we've done this a bunch of times. You're not going to be the first one to put this in. So let me now bring over our portal. Okay. So I'm going to click out of this, minimize this. All right, so this is the S3 application. And I'm going to go through a little bit on both of these. I don't know if we're going to need the full hour, but we'll see how long this takes. And you can see I got these subcategories: transaction auditing, activity monitor, LS reporting, SOD, analytics, and admin. So I'll show you some S3 product, then I'll jump over and show you the Landmark product. And they're going to look very similar. So let's start with security reporting. So this is our dashboard, which you have seen in the screenshot, for all of our out-of-the-box reports that we can run against the S3 model. And you'll see the three primary areas are going to be users, roles, security classes. The favorites is where you can just build that little menu yourself on what you run most of the time. We have some orphans down in the lower left corner, so those are things where you might have started to build a role, but it's not assigned to anybody. You have security classes that aren't assigned to any roles. You have you get an update from Infor or for Lawson, and all of a sudden you got all these tokens that are new that aren't assigned to any security classes. We just want you to see what's laying out of the model that's not being used. And I'll talk about a couple of these other things at the bottom. But let me just show you how all these, we have two basic types of reports. We have a standard grid and then a matrix report. So I'm going to show you a kind of a standard, what everybody's kind of looking for is this user role security class form. Now we have a user all object, you'll see kind of second at the top. But those are going to be things, you're going to have programs, you're going to have tokens, you're going to have fields, categories, securable types. There's a lot of different types of objects. We can report on all of them. But a lot of our clients want just to build them a filter report that just goes down to the form or token level. So that's what this is. Again, every report's going to be consistent in how this works. So I can do a drop down here and tell it what user I want, or a name contains, or a name start with. You can always go to advanced. We build a list. This would always just build dynamically a list of your users. You have the controls and function keys to pick ranges, right, or individual people that I want to do. Or I can just say I'm going to take all. Same thing on the roles, right? You have this filter. So if you're looking for just certain access to roles for people, just go ahead and pick out the roles you want to run this for and generate the report. So all of our reports are going to have the same filtering functionality here, and I'll go ahead and run one. I'll run it wide open. Top right corner tells me the number of records I pulled in. This wasn't too large, 18,000 records. And it just kind of, again, paints this grid of everything that's in the LDAP model. So I can sort it by user, simple things like just clicking on the user ID here. And you'll notice that what we've done is, in part of the implementation process, is that we're harvesting out of the application. So you have custom tokens. We pick up all your custom tokens, all your settings, the names of your custom tokens. All that will be included. So we don't deliver a template of the standard Lawson applications. It's based on whatever you have. If you buy another module, there's just an update routine that goes out, collects that data, and brings it in here. And we need it because we want to make sure we have the description to what AC00.1 is. We want to make sure we have the function codes that are available in that form. Because you may see a rule that says all access, but people don't necessarily mean, what does all access mean? Sometimes all access is inquiry only. So all access is not reliable when auditors are looking at that and they're concerned that somebody has all access to something, even though it might be an inquiry only token. Now, what we can do within here then is if I want to look at this structure the way the LDAP tree lays out, I can drag this up to user. I can drag a role up here. I can drag security class up here. So I can go to somebody like B. Thomas and expand it. So I see 9 is the count for the next grouping. So he has 9 roles. If I expand it, I see 9 roles. So then AC clerk, that role would have 5 security classes. That's my next level of grouping. These are the 5 security classes in it. And AC setup has 22 forms or tokens. And I can expand that. And now I see exactly what level of access a user has. I see the available function codes, and I see the rule for them behind that. So at a level of just how granular do you want to get, right, on doing security reviews, we have this level of detail. And I'll show you a couple other ways we look at this as well. And now what this tool allows you to do is also invert the models and really what I call flatten it out. So maybe there's certain forms I'm concerned about. I'm going to group by form. And I want to know, not by user ID, but let's do by user name. And you can put filters on any column also. So maybe what I'm going to do here is put HR11. I'm going to filter on the column. So now it brings up .1, .2, and .3. And I look at HR11.1, because my second grouping was name. I see 3 users that have access. And I see Sammy Christian has 4 different ways of getting access to this form. And I can expand that out now and see what roles she has assigned. So she's an HR clerical role with an employee role, which is probably self-service. Underneath HR clerical, there are 3 security classes that give access to HR 11.1, and what I'm looking at is the least restrictive access. So in this case, she's going to get all access to this form. And we have another security reporting application that simplifies this for audit reviews because they don't necessarily know what the least restrictive access is going to be. So we just give them a report that says this is the level of access this user has. But you can see I can clear these filters out. Well, it's going to take a second to do. But I can put any filters or any limited filters on any columns. I can do any grouping at any level. So you can invert this entire model upside down. Security class, role, right? And now I can see this belongs to 4 security classes. AC analysis belongs to 7 roles. AC accountant, these are the users is assigned to these users. From anywhere also in these, on all these reports, which I'm not going to go back through the 40 reports on that menu, I just want to show you how these work, is that these are all drillable links that you see in blue. So if I want to know this user's, let me close out of here, and I'll come back and say I started the security class form level. And I look at all my security classes. And so now I can either just I can sort it by form, group it by form. AC02.1 is in 7 security classes. Well, if I want to see what roles, I can right-click here and say, show me the roles this security class belongs to. And I can find that, and I say, well, tell me what people who are financial supervisors, and I can drill up to the user. And all I'm doing here is opening different tabs in the browser, and so I actually have separate reports. If I go up in the right-hand corner and say Show Filters, you see I just ran the user role report. I passed through the filter, FIN, SUP, and so from here, I can say, you know what, I want to see all of this user's security. So I don't have to go back to my dashboard and pick the report, build the filters. We'll do all that for you. So I'll just, let me close down a couple of things here. So that's how you're going to see really every report in the system. If I come back here, they're all going to work that way on that style report. The other style we give you, I think we have 5 of these, we give you a matrix report. So maybe 6 of them. So if I do a user role matrix, this is just for our clients that want to review at a high level what roles are assigned to their users. And this does that. So again, anything in blue, I can drill. So if I want to know for A. Davis, I want to come back here, I look at this all access role. If I click on this, I can drill about and look up anything about A. Davis or anything I want to look up about this role. So if you just export this to Excel, it's obviously not drillable, but you have a nice matrix of where all your role assignments are. You can click on any of these, and it'll bring, these are the users that have AC data entry. If I click on all access, it sorts in ascending, then descending. These are the users that have the all access role. So it's just a simple way to kind of view at an actor role level if you're not required to get down to a more detailed, really token permissions level. So we have a number of these. You're going to see there's an identity matrix, there's an attribute matrix. We give you different ways of getting that data out. We've had so many customers over the years that want their attribute report a certain way because they pull it into some other application they have to use. So we give you actually 3 different ways to report on attributes. But the matrix is just going to be, this is actually a great way to say what is not assigned to somebody. So if they don't have an email address, I can come out and look at email address and find out who does not actually have an assignment. So all your attributes are here. Role is an attribute, so you'll see role assignments out here. But it's just another way. We pull this out where we actually give you 1 row per attribute if you want to look at it that way. So a lot of information in here, but that's all I'm going to touch on security. We'll come back if if this is something you think would help. We'll do a detailed 45-minute demo on all these types of reports. But different matrices. There's a role security class matrix you'll see here. We also have some things down under HR audit. If you're running S3 payroll, and this is going to be true on the Landmark side too. You might be running Landmark payroll. We're going to pull data out of it. It's the only time we actually touch any type of system tables. Generally, we're always doing just what's in the LDEP tree, so it's all just technical data. But we've had a number of customers come back and say, we'd like to, can you go in and get our department ID, our process level, what their status code. So if I look down here at user role matrix with employee data, This allows our customers to go out and say, okay, now what I want to do is I want a department report. Oh, may not have any departments. That didn't work. Oh, here they are. So I could pull up all your departments, and I could run just a department report for review. But if I just say run, you'll see now what these first number of columns versus the user role report, I didn't have the company, I didn't have the employee ID, the process level, the department. I didn't have any of that data. So now we're pulling those fields in along with what roles are assigned to, just like the role matrix would be. So it gave a number of our clients this ability to run these reports. We can do this for groups. You can also do this for your full, I think we have it, all objects with employee data. So if you're looking for, again, you got these filters again, you can run it by department, but your object might be, this is what I was saying, you got a lot of objects, oh, that's not what I wanted, I want object type. You got a lot of objects in the model. So maybe you're looking for tokens, which are your forms. And we don't want element groups, product lines, tables. We just want tokens. But now I can run this by department. So you're going to get that same user role, security, I get all the same, the new columns. But if I come out, if I sort it by user, I'm going to put things together. And if I come in here now, I have the role, security class, the object, available function codes, and the rule set. So you can now, if we have payroll, run this by a department or a process level. A couple other things I'll just touch on real quick. I won't go through. We also take snapshots, give you the ability to take snapshots any time of your security model. So you can go back and look at how security was set at some point in time. A number of customers do that once a year. We have customers that do it every month. It's just put on a schedule. It's something you set up in the admin panel, and you can go back and tell it up in the right-hand corner here. I just say, I want to run for a snapshot from a particular date, and that's how your security existed at that point in time. That also will allow you to compare your current security to historical security. So when you do something like a user role report, you can come out here and say, I want to compare my current security to how it looked back at some point in time, and we'll tell you what's different between your current security model and what it was a year ago. Right? So if you're doing security reviews at a user role level, and all you want to know are the deltas from year to year for review, you don't have to go through thousands of lines of this user has these roles. We'll tell you just what changed for each user at a role level assignment. And actually, you can do that for any of these. You want to know how a security class changed from a year ago? You want to know how role security class assignments changed? We go to all that level of detail. You also have the ability to do save reports and email notifications. So if I go up and click on my save report icon, these are reports that I've created. We save all the filters at either the data we pull in or at the column level. And you can have a report that just gets emailed up. So you just simply put it on a schedule. Gray and blue clocks mean active versus inactive schedules. But it's as simple as saving a report, right-clicking, tell it to schedule a report, pick your schedule, report gets scheduled. Right? So all of that functionality is going to be true through all of our applications. You can schedule in a report, you can save reports. So I'm just touching on it here so you'll know as we go through the other apps that they all do that as well. Okay, so let's move on then. The security analyzer, I'm not going to probably show you that. It's a nice report. This is the one that resolves that least restrictive access. This does a couple things different. First off, it comes out in Excel because this is a report our clients turn over to their auditors. So there's a couple things we resolve here. One is we don't allow you to filter any information out. Their concern is they'll get a report that doesn't include a role for a user because you have complete control over what, on our other reporting, what shows up. You have no ability to filter out anything on the security analyzer other than just pick what users you want on the report. The other option it provides is it goes straight to PDF because they don't want to create a PDF out of Excel because in Excel you might modify the results. You might change something that says all access to all inquiry, and there's a trust factor there. So we'll provide two reports. One is in PDF, one is Excel, so they can cross-check to make sure nothing funny is happening within the Excel document. So we don't allow you to restrict anything but the users. We go straight to PDF and Excel, and then we resolve the least restrictive access. So we're just going to tell them if they can get to it 4 different ways, this is the level of access they're going to get. But that's what the analyzer does for you. The other things in here, security auditing. I'm not going to spend near as much time on some of these other apps as I did on reporting, because a lot of our customers are really interested in what does your reporting do. So I want to make sure I spend ample time on that. So security auditing now is looking at changes to the security model. So again, you can create and save as many reports as you want. If I go to advanced search here, I can pick date and time ranges, anything that's happened between a specific date and time. If you set it up for beginning of the, let's say beginning of the month to the current date, then what you can do is schedule a report to run on the last day of the month, and you'll get everything that changed that month, and you never have to change these parameters. But you can nest these up to 5 parameters with AND logic or logic. But when we do that, we're looking at like, I'll just run one. It's a saved report, and we're now simply going through and showing you at every level of every object. It could be a role security class change, it could be a security class object change, it could be the permissions on a specific form change. Maybe you're looking for, you want to do a wildcard search and say, show me everything done on AP 10.1. Here's changes to AP 10.1. Right, it could have been changed from all access to INP. We can tell you who made the change. If it's a change on a user, I go to like F. Nelson, it'll return all things within F. Nelson. So this would be a user, the user affected is F. Nelson. If I expand this, let me see if I get a couple of things here. Yeah, so here's a case where this was a list of their roles, AP Super was added as a role. Here's access was changed from yes to no. So any change in the model. And again, this is all exportable. Either you see the icons either at the line level, at the page level, or the full query results level. So 3 different ways we can do that. But you can build as many of these. So we're just collecting all this data and giving you an easy way to go back and review what might have been changed in the model and who did it. You see the date and the time, the user, this user that made the changes was Lawson, the user affected was Nelson. And you see I have all kinds of things saved over here and scheduled. So security auditing, that's the S3. Again, I'm going to jump over to the landmark one and we'll show you that as well. So I'm just going to go home here. If I get time, I'll come back to modeling, but again, not as critical. But that's where we get into what if I were to change permissions on a form, who does that impact? What if I add a form to a certain security class, who's impacted by that? You always want to know the impact of a change you're going to make, especially when it's, you're going down this tree level, and if you make something at a very low level, you need to know everybody that's impacted by that change. So that's what our modeling application will do for you. I want to run over, I'm going to jump to SOD. So if I go to our administration tab, you'll see SOD policies here. And you see the different categories we have. So this is asset management, cash, closing. You see a bunch of them here, right? Here's payables. And here's one that says maintain fictitious vendor and enter an invoice. So how do you maintain vendors? Well, we have different ways of maintaining vendors. We have different ways of entering invoices. We're looking for any combination of these. So we're not saying somebody has to have AP 10.1 and 10.2 and 16.1. They just have to have one of those. So in this case, because we have 7 ways to enter an invoice and 3 ways to enter a vendor, we're doing 21 different checks on any individual user. Has to be more than inquiry access. So if you can do add change, especially add functionality or change functionality, that's what we're checking for. So this is where you can rate the policy at 1 to 5 star. The green dots on the right are going to be our S3 policies. I get down to landmark. Here's the same, maintain a vendor and enter an invoice. Well, in landmark, the way you do that is through the security class, AP vendor setup or AP create one-time vendor. And the way you enter invoices, there's 4 different ways of entering invoices. So we're checking to say, does the user or the actor have access to those security classes? And if they do, okay, that's a problem. So what we haven't done is there's a lot of ways to get to vendor, the business class vendor, to do vendor maintenance in landmark. I'm only concerned about the ones that give you add, change, delete capability, not the ones that give you inquiry capability. So that's why, there's probably 30 different classes that have vendor in them, but these are the only 2 that actually you can set up vendors. So these are all delivered for you, and you can rate them on your level of importance. So if I go out to SOD reporting then, I go to SOD report, you'll see again I have saved reports over the left. I can build a new report here at the top right. I can say, okay, what category do I want? Do I want them all? What star ratings do I want? I want all the 5-star rated policies. We pull all those in. So if you go out and select out of your hundreds of policies which ones are 5 stars, you know, those 15 you can focus on and get a report just on them. If I just want to run a report that I already have, let me run closing policies, and I'll just run this report. So I can then view this a couple of different ways. So it's either by user, show me everything they violate, or by policy, and show me all the users that violate the policy. If I do it by user, you'll see I have we actually give you see the grid at the bottom. That's generally for people looking at these reports that don't know Lawson and don't know what these function codes do. So every object that's actually tied to this report will tell you what the different function codes do. So everybody knows A, C, D, I, N, P, but you know, R does different things on different forms. X does a lot of different things inside Lawson. So we want to make sure you understand, or the auditors understand, what the function code does. So if I go to somebody like Helen here, I can expand this, closing procedures. Helen violates Rule 30 because the rule says, you see here, here's the groups of forms that I'm checking in GL 190. She has access to, you know, all access to these forms and all access to GL 190. So we see that as a violation. Now, without going too deep here, I have the ability then to say, you know what, show me what roles that are assigned to her that are really causing this problem. Because these security classes could be assigned to multiple different roles. So we give you this ability to drill back just on her, just on this policy, and show me the roles that are causing the problem. Same thing in landmark side. Now, if we decide we have to allow this, we can do a mitigation. So I can click on this blue icon here, and I can say, you know what, I want to, first off, this could be somebody that has all access in your system. You're going to say, hey, we're allowing that. So mitigate everything, every violation of the system, mitigate for this person, give me a reason, and then that person won't show up in the report every time. But if I just want to mitigate one policy, I can click in here and say, this might be audit approved, and I can put in, you know, maybe just temporary approval. And you can put an expiration date on. So if this is something where there's a department consolidation and you're going to allow things to happen for a while, but then you're going to fix this and hire more resources, and after 90 days, you know, the auditors say you can do that for the next 90 days, put an expiration date on it. So that mitigation is going to fall off in 90 days, and this violation will show up in the report if you haven't fixed it. But if I mitigate this then, again, I'm not resolving it. I'm just giving a reason on why the auditors are allowing this to happen. If I were to rerun this report, make sure I know who I'm working with, Helen closing, let me run this report. So if I run the report now, that violation for Helen is going to fall off. Which is kind of the whole idea, right? So I want to just review what's new. If I run it with displaying mitigations, because your auditors may say, we want to know what's been mitigated. So now let me go by user policy. Let me go to Helen. Let me go to closing. And notice 30 is on the report, but it says it's been mitigated. So we give you, if you run it without mitigations, she falls off. And then you can get you'll see over here, there's a mitigated report. So you can just provide the auditors with a mitigated report. But sometimes we have customers say they want to see the full thing and they want to see that it's been mitigated. But this isn't remediation where we're actually fixing this problem. This is just, we're mitigating it and allow it to happen. So again, unlimited number of saved reports, you build your own criteria, you schedule them on when you want these to go out. That's what we're checking. But we'll monitor your changes to your security, what impacts this SOD reports, and if you have a new violation pop up, you're going to get a notification of that. So that's the segregation of duties. Again, all the policies pre-built. You can build as many as you want. You can build them. We build everything at the token level on S3 because everybody in the Lawson world starts with the same tokens. But you can build it at the security class level. You can build them at the role level. You can just say, I don't want anybody to have these two roles. If they have these two roles, that's a conflict. You can build. We have like 5 different options you can check. We just start at the most granular. So that's SOD. And the last thing, I want to show you the last 2 things here is we have activity monitors. So a couple of ways of looking at this. So if I'm looking at S3, I don't have anything new up here, so let me just go back a little bit of time. If you're looking at your system just during the day, this is going to be all activity that's going on right now in real time. So this is within a millisecond of somebody processing a transaction, we have it. We're going to show you the last transaction they worked on, how many transactions they worked on throughout the day, how many different forms they've worked on throughout the day. So I can come down here and say, this is there's two different forms, 5 transactions, 4 in the currency code, 1 on the vendor, click on the 1, and I can see it was the next transaction on vendor 1. I come down here, I probably get some better. Here's 40. So 40 transactions, 16 vendor transactions, and if I have auditing on for this transaction auditing on, I can see the details behind what was changed. This was an address change. So any field that changed, if I'm auditing vendors, I'll be able to view that data right here. But even if you don't have transaction auditing or you're not auditing that token, we still have the number of times they've used it, how they used it, the key to the record. We just wouldn't necessarily have, you can see, oh, these are all next and previous's, vendor 107, 106, 105. You'll always have all of that data. So this is one way of looking at it. You see we have add-ins separate, we have landmarks separate. The other way we look at that data is back under security, wrong one, sorry. Security reporting, down here, user form detail. So real quick, you see things here like last active date. That's a report the auditors went. When the last time somebody did something in the system, we have that. But let me go to user form detail, and this is where we give you all the filtering capability that you have for the reports. So I can look for on HR 11.1. I can look for a certain employee. I can look for anything. And we even know the IP address it came from, how it was initiated. Was it portal? Was it an add-in? We'd like to know the IP address so that they did something externally. We want to know where that came in from. We can hide columns, by the way. I didn't show you this, but you can show and hide columns. And you get, so now I see HR 11. If I drag that up here, I can say that, and if I go by user, I see 4 users have done transactions on that. F. Nelson has done 132. So you see all the function codes. You see all the keys to the record. That's what Activity Monitor will do for you. Same thing on Landmark, only it's a business class instead of a form. So, and I am going to get there before we're done. So I don't have a lot of time to show you Activity Monitor, but just think that data, everything everybody touches, what the key to the record was, so what transaction did they touch, and what action did they take on that form. So it might have just been a view, but if it's a change action and there's actually an action side of that tied to that business class, we know the actual action on the Landmark side. On the S3 side, we know the function code. And then the last piece of this is the transaction auditing, where we're going way deep now into the actual data changes. So if I have saved reports over here, I can do wildcards up here. Again, I just type in, a person's name. I can type in a form, like what happened on AP. Oh no, everything that's happened on AP 10.1. I'll get a full result of everything that's happened on AP 10.1. These are the changes that have happened. I can have saved reports over here. This is like invoice activity, so I can just run this report. Here's AP 20.1. Now, you see here, I got next and previous. What we allow you to do here in this is so you can drill through this. You might say, well, I'd like to know everything done by Lawson on 8/31. So I hold my control down, I click on these 2 fields, and say, show me everything done by Lawson on that date. Oh, I also did GL20 records. Well, maybe I only want to know everything done by Lawson that were changes. So I'll click on those 3. All right, so these are just the changes. Everything else were inquiries. And now I kind of want to know the detail behind it, so I'm going to tell it I only want to see the changes. And I'll look at what happened here, GL40.1, and I can kind of see dollar amounts changed or lines got removed. You see, we're capturing the data behind the scenes. Here's 2,000 was changed to 2,500 of what got changed on that transaction. So a lot of different ways to drill through and find this information by just holding down, I want to know what happened on AP 20.1. I can expand this, and I see this is a change from $250 to $270. But that's what transaction auditing does. So Activity Monitor gives you this level you see in here. Transaction auditing gives you all this data. Okay, so now let's go over and take a few minutes here because everything's going to function the same way. Let me go here. Let me go to Landmark. Let me go to, so I'm going to go to Landmark Reporting. I'm going to pull up our security reporting. So now this is, everybody understands now that this is Landmark Pattern Language, so LPL. So you'll see now, here's all the different reports we have, right? We have objects, attributes, context properties, org units. Everything gets inside that model. We're trying to report back. And we put different pieces together for you. So if you're looking for a user's permission, that's going to be the actors all object level. Notice we also have the matrix report. So here's your actor role matrix on what sign, just like S3. But I want to show you, let's go to the actor all objects. Because this can take a while, there's a lot of data, I'm just going to pull up a couple of users. And I'm just going to run for the type of business class, because business class is comparable to a form. I'm going to run that report. Now you might have noticed the checkboxes we have the comparison reports, we have historical reports, so you can take snapshots. All that's available in here as well. But the difference here is that if you've seen this LPL, this landmark pattern language, it reads in paragraph form like basically conditional logic as you have on the S3 side. So we're going to parse all that out for you, allow you to search through it, allow you to group on it. So I'm concerned about who might have all access to vendors, for instance. Now I think I'm in FSM now. We have this in HCM also. So now if I were to give you an idea how this works, if I were to right-click on Actor Inquiry and do full LPL, oh, that's a small one. Let me get a bigger one, like Administration Council, maybe that's bigger. Right? So this is how security reads in Landmark now. So you'll see if I scroll down, what they're telling you here is this clear configurations, that's the form, is accessible for all actions unconditionally. So that's how that reads. The problem is you can't export this LPL to Excel like this. So we have to parse it out. So what we do is we take each one of those paragraphs, and here's the Administration Council, and over to the right, we tell you what line in the LPL this is in. But notice now I parsed it out and said it's all actions unconditionally. We'll tell you what level somebody has, what level of access a user has to that business class. And I can do the same thing that we did. On my other report, let me say I want to do this, not starts with, let's say I want to say it's equal to vendor. So if I say equal to vendor, now I'm only doing this for 3 users. And let's group this by the object vendor, and let's then group it by name. So I can see how many different ways. So Ashanti Rowe has 38 ways to get to vendor. I have 38. Well, I might need a little more detail on this. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to group this by include all. I'm going to put include. I think actions and condition. Okay. So what I'm really concerned about is anybody has like unconditional access is kind of what I'm concerned about. So now I'm going to go down to me. And now I see I have all actions here. And the condition is when the vendor class group allows all access. So I'm actually going to, this is going to override all these other actions or security settings because I have all actions in this specific condition case. So again, it's going to be least restrictive access, but I can get to it that easily. Now, what we also do here is we give you the available, if I were to expand this, we give you all the available actions on a form. So if you have included, or if you have excluded actions or included actions, a lot of people don't know, okay, that's all actions. What are the actions? And you'll get that here, right? And you can drill to this also, but these are the actions that are tied to the business class. There's a lot of them. So you can drill on this, you can export this to Excel. We give you an easier way to view this, but we've included all the actions on our reports. So when people say they see all actions and the auditor says, what are those actions? We have them on the reports. So same type of functionality as S3, only we're doing this now for the Landmark apps and we're parsing out that LPL. And there's things we can do within there. If I can sort it by class, and you can search, you can come up here and search, kind of search for a vendor. Yeah, there's a vendor business class in the LPL for AP Basic. They got it in there twice, right, for invoice processing. So the vendor business class. So we're doing that then. You're going to have that. You're going to have the matrix. You're going to have all the rules defined, how security classes are defined. This is some metadata, system data we're giving you that, again, a lot of our clients want. We use it on the reports, so we give you reports to it. Our activity monitor is going to be here. So just like on the S3 side where we had it over on the right, here if I look at all activity going on inside Landmark, This is going to come back, and if I have the actual action taken, and I think if I can sort it by action, group it by action, it's an update release, right? So I know I can have the actual action taken on the payable invoice form. But I can group this and group it by business class, and group it by actor, and sort it by business class, right? And I don't know if we got, accounting entry, 2 entries. Lawson had 2 people. Lawson had 7 transactions. Key to the record, date and the time. Again, we get everything. So these are including views. So anybody looking at data, we have that as well. SOD is going to be also, let me go back here. So if I go to SOD reports now, and I look at the SOD report, I can say, I got a couple saved reports here. Up in the right-hand corner, I can do a new one. I say, give me my 5-star closing policy. So I have multiple policies. Some of them I've indicated as a 5-star. And again, I get actor policy or policy actor. I'll do the policy actor this time, closing, and see for this policy 737, these people all violate. Cindy violates because we're saying if you have access to one of these 4 security classes and the in-basket, which can do a lot, it's how you approve journal entries, then that's a violation. So it doesn't have, we just know that that's the security class that allows you to do more than what we'd allow you to do generally. So again, you can build all these you want to build, the tools out there. We just don't want you to start with a blank slate and say, how do I build policies? So I said, we'll deliver these 396, I think, policies that are basically auditors' policies and the rules behind how you check those. So SOD will do that for you on Landmark. Excuse me. And then you have the Landmark transaction auditing too. So this is where, again, I have any changes. Here's changes made to vendor or vendor address. It'll pull them back, and you can see these are updates. I can expand, see more detailed information. Okay. Before and after values. You see the vendor. I know the key to the record, so I know what vendor it is, and I can search for anything Mike Ditka did on this date. Any updates Mike Ditka did has done. No, actually, not on that date. This is any updates that user has done. Period. Because I didn't restrict it to a date. So we capture all this data, and this is a case where we do want you to tell us what the business class is that you want to audit. Otherwise, we don't capture that data. We do for activity monitor, just not on the audit side. And I know I'm going through this fast, so what we want to do is see where you might have interest. So Guy Henson will circle back with you and find out if you want to do a demonstration on either product or both products. And we'll set up an hour and a half demo and go through in more detail. So so Landmark then also has changes to security, and then we'll do. I'm out of time here, but we'll do object comparisons on both sides too. So if you have redundancy in your roles, or if you just want to know what's the difference between 2 roles, we'll highlight out that for you. So we'll show you, if they look like they're similar or sound like they have similar functionality, we'll tell you exactly what's different, either on the S3 side or on the Landmark side. And especially if you're modifying Landmark delivered roles and Landmark delivered security classes, you might want to know what those modifications are and how they change. If you're new to the environment and somebody prior to you made these changes, we'll identify any changes in that for you to a security class from the delivered security class. So I think we touched on all the applications. I didn't necessarily show you security auditing, but again, it's just like the S3 side. So I just want to wrap up, and we probably don't have time to take questions, but again, what I want you to be able to do is, you're going to, if I go here, you'll see here in the right corner, let me make that bigger. So expect an email from this guy, Guy.Henson. The guy's been with us for a long time, 20 plus years. And he handles all the follow-up on these and making sure if you need to see literature, product pricing, anything like that, Guy can take care of that for you. And they'll schedule any kind of demo that we can do for your team. So this will be, again, I'm going to post this, but with that, I'll let everybody go because I'm 12:03 and I don't like being passed. So I appreciate everybody sticking around. Looks like everybody that got on stayed on. And have a great weekend. Thanks.